I think a new team has arrived in the AFC West, and their name is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
Herbert stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it!
Herbert fires open, making the grab. Mike Williams down the sideline. 17-yard line, look out again. Carr, intercepted.
We're back with another episode of the Shock Therapy Podcast brought to you by the Say It Again Network. I'm Tyler Lawrence. With me is my co-host, Zac Alfers. Training camp's a week away, dude.
Close. I just checked. I couldn't believe that. Rookies show up this week.
Yeah, I believe rookies. I think rookies show up next week, and then training camp kicks off on the 27th. But we're here. Training camp is right here. I got the opportunity last weekend to go to the Swoop and D Mission Bay barbecue, which was really cool. I got to meet Ricky a little bit, got to talk to him a little bit, hung out with Aaron Vrabel a little bit. And then just 2 nights ago, I actually met up with a fan. I gave him a couple magazines, somebody that bought our magazine last year. It was kind of cool to hang out with him and his son. He's from Texas. I can't think of their names right now. I'm a bad friend, but it was really cool. I got to meet up with him. He bought me a couple beers. That was kind of a cool opportunity. But the barbecue was awesome. All of the Die Hard Bolt Club was there. Swoop and D, basically all of Thunder Alley was there. And I kind of just hung out with Aaron Vrabel, played some beer pong with him. I had to pick up my wife from the airport, so I didn't get to stay too long. But I mean, it's always great to get together with other Charger fans. Had a lot of fun, man.
Awesome. That's good. I wish I was in Southern California so bad. I know there's some DHBC chapters up here, but the closest one is in Stockton, I think, which is about an hour away from me right now. There might be.
They're always looking to expand.
Is there a Sacramento branch that you know of?
I don't know if there's a branch. I could talk to some of the guys at the Die Hard Bolt Club. I'm not a member yet. I'm kind of like a pledge, right?
Yeah.
I'm pledging right now. But they're always looking to expand and try to grow. So if there's not a Sacramento chapter, I'm sure they'd be interested in getting one started for sure.
I mean, it's a big population. There's a lot of San Diegans that are transplanted out here. I've been working at the River Cats game. It's the affiliate for the Giants. And after the Giants, honestly, even more than the A's, which is a Bay Area team, that the River Cats were affiliate for the A's for a long time. So there's still a lot of A's fans here. But I see more Padres fans at my River Cats games. It goes Giants fans first, Dodgers fans second, and then Padres fans, which I thought was kind of bizarre. But there's, I think, a lot of Southern California transplants up here right now.
I think Padres fans are really growing because you got Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis that are just Tatis should be back here in a week or two, right? Like is that what you're hearing?
I think the plan is after. I think the plan was always after the All-Star break, and then I think people got excited because the Padres were doing well, and they're like, "Well, how good would they be if Tatis was in the lineup?" I think it was mostly the fans and media getting excited because I was hearing before the season started that it was always eyeing a return after the All-Star break, which looks like that's going to be the case here. I actually wore my Padres hat today because they're slumping, and I'm hoping to get that turned around. Because
did you see Did you see the Eric Hosmer anti-highlight film that I posted on Twitter just a little while ago?
No, but I've seen enough of Hosmer's defensive play.
It's definitely a tribute to Hosmer's glove for sure.
He's so bad. That's just the unofficial 10th man for the other team. Hosmer's glove.
Yeah, when you get a chance, go take a look at it.
I'll take a look at it.
It's literally like 100 plays from the first half of the season, with Hosmer's glove being the highlight reel of that anti-highlight reel. Yeah, so I'm actually really stoked. I'm so stoked for this episode because we're going to be doing a all Chargers draft, essentially. So much so that I'm wearing my Chargers jersey because I'm just stoked to get into this. And to kind of give those of you who are watching on YouTube an idea of what we're doing. So we have like a whole player pool here broken out. I am sharing my screen, so if you're on YouTube, you can see this. If you're listening in, just, I guess, kind of listen in. But we're going to draft a my team versus your team, at least a starting roster. Probably not going to make it a 53-man roster, but that would be kind of a fun exercise as well. So we got all the players broken out by team here. And then we're going to do a my team versus your team, and then we'll post it up on social media and see whose team is better. But this should be like a fun experiment. I don't know who's going to go first. You have a coin to flip, or how are we doing this?
Let's see. I feel like we should do
first pick's important, man. This is really important.
There has to be like a coin flip. I'm going to just do a coin flip generator online.
Well, right. You go ahead and get that all set up and ready. When you're ready to flip that coin, you let me know.
I got it. You call it.
Heads.
In the air. Flipping. It's tails.
Tails. All right. So you've got the first pick of this draft. And let's go ahead and jump into this with the first pick of the Shock Therapy All Chargers draft. Zac Alfers chooses.
So, well, I was curious. Is it just I can pick any position, anybody?
Any position, any player. You started off, and we've got it here, right here in front of you. You've got all your quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers.
Yeah.
You've got your offensive line. Anybody you want, it's yours.
Well, I guess I got to just play this as, wow. All right. I got to go. If I got first pick, I think we're talking the best Charger of all time.
Well, any player that you just absolutely love, right? So let's get into it, man.
And that's so tough, but I know. I'm trying to think of like who's my. I guess number one pick, if we're talking all-time Chargers draft, it has to start at the top. Mr. Charger, the epitome of the franchise, in my opinion. Someone who carried himself on the field and off the field, known for a lot of off the field and extensive charity work throughout the area in San Diego. An Oceanside native, played collegiate ball at USC. And, of course, I'm talking about number 55, Junior Seau. So that's my number one pick. Just a guy who wore the team on, wore his emotions on his sleeve. Very instinctual player who's always around the football. That man racked up so many tackles, so many 100+ tackle seasons. Almost 1,500 tackles on his career, 47 career sacks, 15 interceptions, 11 forced fumbles, 16 fumble recoveries, all during his time with the Chargers, where he stayed, 1990 to 2002. Those were some good years with Seau leading the charge. So that's where I got to start my
Junior Seau, Walter Payton Man of the Year, UPI Defensive Player of the Year, Pro Football References first team All 1990s team. I mean, you just take a look at all of he played, 12 seasons for the Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean, Junior Seau is where it starts, right? Junior Seau is the guy. Like, he Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was third in those Pro Bowl the second season. All pro. I mean, this guy did it all for the Chargers. So that was going to be my number one overall pick, and I'm a little bummed that you went and got him before me.
Well, and
he's Mr. Charger, right?
He's Mr. Charger. You can't. I don't think we could. It wouldn't be, I don't think, wise to start an all-time Chargers draft without mentioning 55 at the top of it. Also a Super Bowl champion. sweet to watch him end his career over in New England. But watching that guy, one of the most deserving players of all time, earn a championship late in his career, that was special.
So if you're gonna go with Junior Seau as your first pick, I gotta go LaDainian Tomlinson because he's the next closest thing, right? So LaDainian Tomlinson has done so much throughout his career on and off the field. And I mean, you take a look at the MVP season, the 2006 season, the record-breaking season, the 31 touchdowns, and then you look at a lot of the things he's doing off the field. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson was the drive of the offense from, really from when he was drafted in 2001 all the way until he left in the 2010 season. I want to say 2009, 2010 season.
2009.
I mean, 2009. I think LaDainian Tomlinson is really, really close with Junior Seau. But I think that the defining factor for Junior Seau is Seau was with us through some really terrible seasons. Like that whole span in the 90s after that Super Bowl run, it got really rough. And Seau was a teammate of Tomlinson. And I think that a lot of that charity work he did for the San Diego community, Seau did, is something that LaDainian Tomlinson took over after Seau left to go play with the Dolphins. I just recently wrote a whole article on LT and his upbringing coming from high school playing fullback essentially to his way to TCU and then him being drafted, like his upbringing, his off-field character, even outside of him being top 5 in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, chasing greatness. And he did all of that really before he was his 30th birthdays when he had his great careers. LaDainian Tomlinson's my next pick. So I'll let you go ahead and pick your next player.
Well, and you didn't even mention LT's triple threat ability. Obviously the rushing, obviously the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. But I'm pretty sure he is the highest rated quarterback or passer in the history of the NFL with at least 5 attempts. I'm trying to find his passing numbers. I believe he's like 7 for 8 with 7 touchdowns and like 150 passer rating. I can't find his exact numbers.
So I'm looking at his passing rating numbers here right now. No interceptions, right? Like that's important. He's 8 for 12, 7 passing touchdowns is insane. Quarterback rating of 146.9.
There you go.
Just a fun statistic, right?
Yeah, right. Okay. Moving on, I guess I got my quarterback on my defense. LT was tough to pass on. LT was my favorite player growing up. I had his fat head in my. That was definitely to be my next pick. But I guess if I got my quarterback on my defense, I should probably get the captain of my offense. And this one's tough because I think out of all of the quarterbacks who played in the Chargers career or in the Chargers system, I think overall, if you look at the whole body of work, I would say Drew Brees is probably the most talented there. But for what he did with our organization, I think I'm gonna take Dan Fouts as my quarterback. Really, the grandfather of the traditional offense that we see today. Really helped bring in the era of passing to the NFL. Him and all of his teammates, Kellen Winslow, Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, all of those guys, Don Coryell, the coach, all very, very important in turning the NFL's offense into what it is today. And at the time, Dan Fouts is an absolute beast, 6-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer in the 1993 class, and is now, I think, one of the best broadcasters we have. So still a great football mind. A huge fan of Justin Herbert. Always excited to see Dan Fouts get the call. And just an absolutely fantastic Charger.
I totally agree. I love his broadcast. I love what he did after football, and he really was one of the guys that helped redefine the quarterback position through the whole Don Coryell era. I love Dan Fouts, and since you're taking a quarterback, I feel like I can pass a quarterback because you're probably not going to be taking one anytime soon. I don't know, but of those types of players that really like redefine the position. I got to go with Lance Allworth. So Lance Allworth Bill Belichick was talking about him for his all-decade team, right? And if you really look at the quality of work and what Lance Allworth was able to do in an era where they did not pass the ball like they do now, I mean, he's one of the all-time greats. And I think that because he's so old, because he played – in the AFL before the NFL merger, the things that he was able to accomplish in that time frame was completely unheard of. So he is a Hall of Famer for the Chargers, also one of the all-time greats. For whatever reason, I'm really struggling to pull up his stuff on Full Football Reference for everybody to see. 1962 to 1972, so he played 10 years. Finished his career with Dallas, 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro. He did win a Super Bowl when he went to Dallas, which kind of stings a little bit. He's got an AFL championship with the Chargers. And then you just look at 85 touchdowns in an era where they did not throw the ball. That's kind of unheard of. He has a 1,600-yard season under his belt when he was 25 years old. In 14 games, which is insane because they did not throw the ball back then like that. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive seasons of over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, this guy is the man. He is one of the all-time greats because he was doing things in an era where they never did those types of things. They ran the ball so many times. So, 11 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, all in consecutive seasons. I mean, he is one of the Charger greats for sure.
Well, you've taken the best receiver. You've taken the best running back. So I got to go the next best offensive weapon, giving my Dan Fouts someone to throw the ball to. And I'm talking about the big 6'4", 255-pound target, which is the undrafted free agent king, Antonio Gates, going undrafted as a basketball player out of Kent State in 2003. Has to go down as one of the best all-around, all-time greatest undrafted free agents in the history of the NFL. The Charger franchise leader in receptions, receiving yards, touchdown catches, 116 touchdowns for Gates, who spent all 15 years of his career with the Chargers. An absolute beast. So much fun to watch. Those early, those 2010 teams or late 2000s with Gates, LT, Vincent Jackson, Malcolm Floyd, those teams were so much fun to watch. And Gates was just so consistent, an absolute beast in the red zone, a threat even with his size, a threat to score from anywhere on the football field. 16 seasons with the Chargers, 236 career games. And that's second in the history of the franchise as well, behind long snapper David Binn. So Antonio Gates will be my next selection.
With my next selection, I think I'm going to go with the Defensive Rookie of the Year, somebody who led the league in sacks. I'm talking about Sean Merriman. For one, he just signed my magazines, and I've gotten those out to everybody. So I gotta show some love over here. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2005. 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. kind of a short career, really started off hot, had the injury history, so he doesn't have the lengthy career. But if you would have gotten Sean Merriman for his best days, I mean, those first 3 years of his career were phenomenal, and injuries kind of derailed his trajectory because he should have been he was Hall of Fame bound if you look at his really hot start and what he was able to do. For a edge rusher to go and get 17 sacks in his second season is insane. And then you look at the fact that he is still very much involved in the Chargers community, right? And he's just a guy that really, like, he's the type of guy that you want to stick around your franchise even after his career's over. He went and spent 2 years in Buffalo. Never ever got that historically great season, like over the course of his entire career, which kind of sucks. But I mean, I just love Sean Merriman for who he was on the field, for who he was off the field. And I could have only imagined, had he stayed healthy, how the rest of his career would have gone.
And I can't turn social media off without seeing at least one or two of his social media videos now that he's promoting his fight club. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, lights out Sean Merriman, and then you look at the videos. Sign him up. Sign him up.
Yeah. Those are funny. They crack me up. Sean Merriman's an absolute beast. Great Charger. Really fun to watch. Yeah, and I'm glad he's so active. It seems like, yeah. You see these guys kind of fade away out of, or the limelight after their careers are in, but it's cool to see him around interacting with fans. I'm pretty sure he I thought I saw something on social media. He stopped by one of the Charger fans out there in Vegas just to come hang out and hang out a little bit. But yeah, just a really class act guy. Going down my all-time list, yeah, I think the best. I'm going to go line. I think this guy is the best offensive lineman in the history. And even though I didn't get a chance to actively watch him because he played in the 60s when I was not even a thought. But I have to throw him in there because he's an absolute beast. I know he played in the AFL. Helped take the Chargers to 5 of their first 6 AFL championship games and the lone title in franchise history in '63. And I'm talking about offensive lineman Ron Mix. Just not only is he one of the best offensive linemen in Chargers history, he's talked about as one of the best offensive linemen to ever strap up in the history of the league. Only called for 2 holding penalties in his 10-year career. Absolute beast, super consistent, and that's where I'm going to have as my tone setter up there on my offensive line, Ron Mix. Ron
Mix, the intellectual assassin. It is insane for him to play over a whole career and only have that many holding penalties, that many penalties just in general. All pro, like look at these awards: all pro, all pro, all pro, all pro, all pro, all pro,
consistent,
all pro. Just
and did it the right way.
Super consistent. And then when he got out of football, he went and became a lawyer. So just think about how smart this guy was off the field. And then what he ended up specializing in was for like former players and current players. He did a lot of what is that called when workers' compensation. So that's actually what he ended up going into, was working on like workers' comp type of things. Really, really interesting dude. And a player, I think he passed away recently. He was a much older, 84 years old right now is where he's at. It doesn't say that he did die, but I know that he did get in some legal trouble recently. But Ron Mix is one of the all-time greats, and he's a Hall of Famer, 8-time Pro Bowler, 9-time All-Pro. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody like that today. I'm going to go ahead, and I got to keep going on defense here. And I know he's young, but he's a fan favorite. And I'm going to go and pick up Derwin James just because of his trajectory and where he's headed in his career. I mean, Joey Bosa has already said that he's a future Hall of Famer, a 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. I feel like he really was the heart and soul of this defense last season. I think he was snubbed. I don't like the fact that he did not reach some of those after-season accolades that he probably should have. But if you look at his trajectory and how much he means to this team, the fact that he was able to bring J.C. Jackson over, he had the rough ankle injury last season, the season before last, with the screw in his foot. You took a look at a lot of the injuries history he has had coming back from high school to college to the NFL, but he's about to become the highest paid safety in the NFL here in just a couple of weeks. It's about to happen. I feel that it's there, and I've already gone and picked up some of my old players, but there's players on our current roster who are really going to be something special. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what Derwin James brings for the rest of his career. And I really struggled because I was really thinking Rodney Harrison as well, but I really think that overall Derwin James is the man. So I'll let you take a look at the remaining guys on this list.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. There's so many great players on this roster.
It's hard. It's really, really tough. I'm looking at edge right now, and I'm torn. I'm literally torn between 3 guys, and I can't decide.
There's a lot of guys on here.
This is tough. All right, I'm going. Well, we're just going to go off the numbers. The best. We're going off the numbers. Love Sean Phillips. Love Joey Bosa. The all-time career sack leader in franchise history. 105.5 sacks. 36 more than Sean Phillips, who's the next closest guy on that list. I'm not really sure where Joey is on that list. I know he's approaching Sean Phillips if he hasn't already passed him, but he's not near the 105.5 mark, which Leslie O'Neal put up in his, I think, 9 seasons with the Chargers. An absolute force on the edge in the late 80s, early 90s. And I said 105.5 sacks, a lot of sacks. Absolutely pinned his ears back, got after the quarterback. Every season he spent with the Chargers, he averaged more than 10 sacks per year. Had a career high 17 back in 1992. And he had 5 sacks in a single game his rookie season against Dallas. An absolute threat. He was a threat as soon as he entered the league his rookie year. In his 9 years with the Chargers, 597 tackles, 18 forced fumbles, 9 fumble recoveries, and earned 6 Pro Bowl selections during his time here. That's tied with Dan Fouts and second only to the late, great Junior Seau.
Leslie O'Neal is a snub for the Hall of Fame because all of his numbers are right there with everybody else. But, I got to stick to the defensive line. And if you look at one position that has not had the Chargers greats, right, there's only one Charger great from the interior of the line, like one really solid guy. And I have to go and pick up Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams was an absolute force on the interior of that defensive line. That is not Jamal Williams. I don't know how to spell his name, apparently.
I think it's 2 A's.
Jamal Williams. I'm going to find him. I don't know how to spell his name. It's a little bit different. I'm really struggling here. Chargers, Jamal Williams. I can't spell either, apparently.
Such a common name.
It is. It's really a common name, but he doesn't have a whole lot of stats behind him. But as far as nose tackles go, I mean, has there been anybody better on the Chargers in the history of that interior defensive line for them? Jamal Williams has been that guy. He's been a major, major factor for the Chargers run game during that whole 2000 to 2010 era of Chargers football. And he really, really freed up a lot, taking on massive double teams for guys like Donnie Edwards, for guys like Randall Godfrey, right? Stephen Cooper, Takeo Spikes was during that era as well. And Jamal Williams really freed up those guys to make a lot of plays. Major, major benefactor for all the work he did on all that dirty work that he did. Jamal Williams is going to be the interior defensive lineman that I'm going to go and pick up.
Nice. Okay. I see a theme here. Let's see. I can't find any guys on the interior of the defensive line that really, really did anything the way that Jamal Williams did. So it's just insane how weak of that position group the Chargers have been historically. Yeah. No, yeah, I don't even know. I'm going to disregard that position for a while because I don't. It's not even. There's not even a close second or third.
There really isn't.
All right, I'm gonna go defense then. I'm gonna keep on the defensive side. I'm gonna go DB. But I'm going to go cornerback and pick up my guy, Gil Bird. Cornerback.
That was where I was going next.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best cornerback in the history of the Chargers. Spent most of his season at cornerback, but very versatile. Has many games in both safety spots. 2-time Pro Bowler, which I think is honestly for the body of work that this guy put together. I think that's kind of low, but holds the franchise record with 42 interceptions, inducted in the Chargers Hall of Fame in '98, and was served as an assistant coach for several NFL teams after he retired. But Gil Bird, absolute beast. I think the best defensive back. I think that's debatable, but definitely the best cornerback. And so that's where I'm going to start my secondary acquisitions with Gil Bird.
Gil Bird also became a coach and has been a coach for many, many seasons. One of the most sought out defensive back coaches you'll find out there. I think he was also a head coach for Illinois, for the Illinois Illini there for a while. Gil Bird is definitely one of the Chargers' all-time greats, a guy that often goes overlooked because he played in a bad era of Chargers football, but he's always been one of the greats. And then he's got the stats behind him too. 42 career interceptions. That's a pretty insane number there as well. For my next player, I'm going to go back to the offensive side of the ball, and I got to go and get a player who really didn't start to shine until later in his career. I'm talking about, I got his jersey behind me, Charlie Joyner. Charlie Joyner was able to do things through the age of 30 that just isn't very common. And if you go and take a look at some of his stats, how he started his career, he had a lot of injury history, but his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, he hadn't eclipsed the 1,000-yard benchmark as a wide receiver. And it wasn't until he came to San Diego and he played with Dan Fouts that he wasn't even on any sort of radar coming into his year 29, like 29 years old, and definitely not even close to any radar to becoming a Hall of Famer. And then he comes and plays with Dan Fouts, and he just starts knocking out these seasons of just 1,000 yards here, 1,000 yards there, 7 touchdowns here, 6 touchdowns there. And had he retired at 32, 33 years old, definitely would have been nowhere even close to being Hall of Fame bound. But he played till he was 39 years old and was able to just methodically start racking out all of these yards. Like his ability to continue to play late into his late 30s is just insane. He ended up making the Hall of Fame. I think he retired as the all-time leader in receiving yards purely for just longevity. Charlie Joyner, like the fact that you can go and almost make it to your 30th birthday and just be so low in just career stats, but just have such longevity, and ended up getting it together with Dan Fouts and John Jefferson and Kellen Winslow and all those other greats from back in that era, help redefine the game, change the NFL into a passing league, really start off the West Coast offense being one of the first guys to go and revolutionize the football game. Charlie Joyner is going to be my next pick. And again, one of my all-time Charger favorites. Charlie Joyner was just a monster.
Well, okay. Man, I swear that was going to be my next pick. I guess I got to stay in the same position group because I think you got it right. Like Allworth, Joyner, the best two in the game, and I think we're seeing, you know, I think we're seeing a player right now kind of establish himself as the third best on that list, and if he can continue to produce like he has been for another 3-4 seasons, I don't see why he can't at least contend with those both the Allworth and Joyner. And I'm talking about Keenan Allen, who's the next on that list on the all-time receiving yards, 8,535 career yards for Keenan already in his career, 116 games. And so I think he's on his way. I think he's definitely the most polished route runner of that group, but I think it's really a product of the NFL that Keenan is in. Routes these days compared to the 70s and the 80s when Allworth and Joyner were playing, it's a lot more complex. DBs are much more talented, much more athletic, so you got to throw something at them. And Keenan Allen is the best at getting guys turned around, not looking in the right place, just looking silly. Keenan does it consistently every year. Every year there's a video that comes out of him just cooking one of the best DBs in the league. So I got to get myself another pass catcher, and so I'm going Keenan Allen.
I got to move over to the offensive line because I still haven't picked up anybody, and I'm looking out at this, and I really think that center Don Masick from that Air Coryell era was super underrated. The guy played for the Chargers from 1976 to 1989. I mean, that is a long, long time. The Chargers have three greats, really, honestly. And I think Corey Linsley and Nick Hardwick are right there with him. But Don Masick just had such a long career with the Chargers and was a big, big reason why the Dan Fouts and that offense was just so electric for so many years over that span. He doesn't have, any stats. He's an offensive lineman, obviously, and he doesn't have the Pro Bowls or anything like that. But just like a really strong, sturdy center, and one of the Charger greats that a lot of people seem to have forgotten about. He could play center or guard, started his career off at guard, and then later just became a stalwart in the center of the Chargers offensive line. Played from the time he was 22 to the time he was 35, all with the same team. So anytime you got longevity for a player like that, I mean, those are just great success stories. Just basically became a San Diego native, and started his career off at Boston College. We got another Boston College alumni there, and also he's born on the Day of Champions, July 21st. That's my birthday, so just a couple of little tidbits there, little things I can add in there. Not the heaviest guy either, just 261 pounds, but guy coming from New Hampshire, and then drafted second round, 31st overall in the 1976 NFL draft.
All right. I'm going to shore up my pass rush. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do in the interior. But if I got Leslie O'Neal on the other one side,
there's a lot of good pass rushers for the Chargers.
There is. Let me see. 1 second. I was about to pull the trigger, and then I think I might have to pivot really quick.
So who's it gonna be? There's a lot of pass rushers. You got Sean Phillips there. You got Khalil Mack there. You got Fred Dean there. Joey Bosa, Rayleigh Johnson, Melvin Ingram.
Khalil's a beast, but I don't think I just don't see. Khalil's a beast, but without him playing a single snap in the NFL with the Chargers, I can't really put him in this conversation. I'm not even thinking about him, to be honest. And then it's tough, right? Like, are these guys going to continue to do what they're doing? This is tough.
Shoot, fire from the hip.
This is much tougher than I was expecting. I thought it would just be like, oh yeah, this is hard when you got the whole. All right. I'm going with my original gut. I think Bosa's on his way. I think he will surpass this guy eventually. But as of right now, I'm taking Sean Phillips over Joey Bosa, and that is just it is so neck and neck. You guys saw my hesitation there. There's very, very close run, but I think as of right now, I think it's Sean Phillips, a 4th round selection who absolutely thoroughly exceeded his expectations, and is one of the greatest players in the history of our franchise. 69.5 sacks, second only behind his running mate on my team, Leslie O'Neal, in double-digit sacks in 3 seasons, a Pro Bowler, and played 9 years in San Diego. He was a force. Him and Merriman were very, very fun to watch. Sean Phillips was a big part of those really, really successful LaDainian Tomlinson led teams when we were going 12-5 back in the good days. But yeah, Sean Phillips is going to be my next pick there. Tough though.
All right, so
Joey.
I'm kind of surprised he's still on the board, and I think it's mostly because you already picked a tight end, but I have to go and pick up Kellen Winslow. I can't let the Kellen Winslow thing continue to fall. Kellen Winslow redefined the tight end position. His son ended up coming and playing for a couple of seasons, just never had the same kind of success, but playing from 1979 to 1987, so he played it was kind of a relatively short career, 22 to 30 years old, but Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, only just shy of 6,800 yards receiving, ended up having 45 touchdowns. His great years are going to be from 1980, 1982, but overall just had strong seasons over that 4-year span, basically. So Kellen Winslow, he's one of the Charger greats, and you just can't continue to let him slide this far down into this mock draft that we're kind of doing here. I just can't. I got to stop it just because he is one of the Charger greats and worth being drafted as high as I'm drafting him.
That's fair. I mean, if I had room for 2 tight ends, I would have picked him a lot sooner also. But yeah,
I feel like I could have let him slide a little bit there, but ultimately, like he helped redefine the tight end position, because tight ends they were not receiving threats back then. They were definitely much heavier guys that were maulers in the run game, because in that era, in the 70s and the 80s, and even before that, I mean, tight ends were purely blocking, and they didn't really come into their own in the passing game. You had a couple Raiders tight ends during that era who were dominant threats there, but Winslow was the guy that made being an athletic tight end fun. He was that guy. So go ahead and make your next pick, man. You're taking forever taking your picks.
Yeah. I got my guy. And I'm just going back into. I'm adopting a new philosophy, so it's going to help expedite this process, I think. But I know he's not the most popular guy in Charger fandom right now, but he's a guy who I thoroughly respect for what he did on the field. I know there's some ill will between him and the organization and the ownership group, but I don't care. Eric Weddle is still one of my favorite Chargers of all time. I think he's the best free safety to ever don the lightning bolt. 3-time Pro Bowl selection in his 9 years with the Chargers, which I also think is a little low, but I think it was really a not a knock on him, but more a knock on the talent surrounding him. It was really just a one-man show for a lot of years with Weddle back there. Known for that mohawk and game day beard. Looks like, just a modern day black beard out there playing football. 847 tackles, 19 interceptions, 4 defensive touchdowns. The guy was a threat when he got the ball in his hands, even though he played defense. And had 7 interceptions back in 2011, 100 tackles in a season 3 times with the Bolts, and a team captain throughout most of his career. I know the drama going on, but Eric Weddle is the best free safety in Charger history, in my opinion.
I definitely agree with you there. And you know, one of the things I loved about Eric Weddle is, you remember during Christmas when he would when he turned his beard white to be like Santa Claus, right? Like, that was always great.
Yeah.
He did a lot of fun things in the community as well. There isn't much left in terms of safeties, and I know you got another strong safety there, so I'm going to go and pick up Rodney Harrison to just kind of shore up my back end. Rodney Harrison primarily played strong safety, right? But he definitely had some times where he was sitting back there in cover 2, has the ability to go and play that. He's listed purely as a DB, 2 times Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the New England Patriots. But he played his first 8 years of his career donning a Charger bowl on the side of his helmet, primarily playing in that Navy uniform that I miss so much. I'm really hoping that they go and bring that back when they know that you can have different helmets and you can bring that Navy helmet back, because I just think that the Navy uniform is something that a lot of people just they seem to have forgotten about, because that was one of the best uniforms that the Chargers really had. He ended up playing 123 games for the Chargers, starting 97 and then had 26 interceptions over that span. I think he's kind of on the outside looking in terms of Hall of Fame votes. But, I mean, he had a long career, played till he was 36 years old, has a handful of fumble recoveries. It looks like over his 9-year career, he had fumble recoveries 7 with the Chargers, which is just insane. Got a couple defensive touchdowns. He's got 2, but there isn't much left on that, like great greats in terms of those safeties for Chargers. And I just got to pick him up before you do, because I just see him there. I know you're looking at him, eyeing him, thinking he's safe because I already picked up a strong safety and he's not. So I'm going to go up and grab my guy, Rodney Harrison.
It was smart because that was my next pick. But fine. Let's fight fire with fire. Go down the list. If you're going to take the safeties, I'm going to take the DBs. I'm going to take my first 2 picks at the top of that position. And I think the next guy after Gil Bird is a guy I grew up watching a lot of football, a guy who I modeled my defensive back playing career after. And that's the number 5 overall pick back in 2002. And I'm talking about Quentin Jammer, which is an absolutely phenomenal name for a cornerback, especially the way Jammer played, right? He was a physical, jammy at the line corner, wanted to get receivers off of their routes, and he was really, really good at it. Most passes defended in team history, 137 pass breakups. 719 tackles as a Charger, 21 career interceptions, the 7th most in history, and 172 games. The guy played a lot of games. Only 8 other Chargers have played more games than Quentin Jammer. So you're taking safeties. I'm going cornerbacks, and I think I got a good pair in Gilbert and Quentin Jammer.
Quentin Jammer, like having the last name Jammer is just perfect for a cornerback too, right?
It makes too much sense, right?
It does. And he played his entire career, 11 seasons with the Chargers. No, he had a final season with Denver, whatever. But like playing 10 seasons for the Chargers, I mean, Jammer just had such the best name for a cornerback you could possibly even think of. While you're going up and taking some of these DBs, I got to go and get Antonio Cromartie there because I need to shore up my secondary. I got 2 really good safeties. Antonio Cromartie was the Chargers' first-round draft pick. Antonio Cromartie. So Cromartie, Chargers' first-round draft pick. Did not play super long for the Chargers. Had his probably his best years with the Jets, but I mean he had 1 season with 10 interceptions. That's almost as many as he has kids. Like that's insane. Cromartie, if you guys don't know, Cromartie has a ton of kids as well. I think Phillip Rivers still has him beat in terms of number of kids. But I know that he's definitely got 8 or 9 from like 8 or 9 different baby mamas. Just kind of a fun fact there. I
remember at one point he had, I want to say like 1 less child himself than Philip, but his current wife had like 3 kids of her own. So like total was taking care of like 15 kids. It's pretty ridiculous.
I think I saw an article a while back that Antonio Cromartie was playing like over $150K a year in child support or something crazy like that. It was
insane. Like he had to have played that long in the NFL.
He really
drowning
did.
in alimony.
That 2007 season, he was an All-Pro, Pro Bowler. He also had finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year votes because when you finish and you get 10 takeaways, I mean, it's really hard to lose games when you've got that many interceptions coming from your one DB. He ended up only returning 1 for a touchdown that season, a 4-time Pro Bowler as well. Just one of those guys that you wish the Chargers would have re-signed because he went on to have an awesome career even after that. Was always getting interceptions. He didn't have a single interception his first season with the Chargers. And then every season after that until 2015, he had multiple, 3 to 4 in a season. So he was just a guy that was always able to go and take the ball away. Also, he was a big corner as well, playing 6'2", 210 pounds. Back in that era of Chargers football, they played a lot more man in that 3-4 defense while trying to get pressure on the quarterback. Antonio Cromartie is somebody that I couldn't pass up there.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go. I'm going to go give Keenan Allen a running mate. And this guy, I think, this guy was a lot of fun to watch. Just a big play waiting to happen. Not a really well-known name coming out of college. He went to Northern Colorado. Was drafted a 2nd-round draft pick to the Chargers in 2005. But I'm talking about the big 6 foot, 230-pound pass-catching target, which is Vincent Jackson. I think one of the most effective deep threats we saw in the game during his time. But I think the best go up and get him deep threat that the Chargers have ever had. 3 years, 3,000-yard receiving seasons, 2 Pro Bowl selections during his time here. He's 10th in the history of the club, 4,754 receiving yards, 37 touchdowns, ranked 7th on that list. So I got to go get Keenan Allen, a big-bodied outside physical receiver, and I'm taking Vincent Jackson.
Terrible how he ended up passing away not that long ago.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely horrendous situation for a player that has that just a lot of guys really seem to have liked during his career. Another player who left the Chargers way too soon. Wish he would have been one of those guys that stayed for the long haul. I'm going to go and pick up some offensive line help. I'm going to go pick up Doug Wilkerson, a 6'3", 250-pound guard who played a long career with the Chargers. He was brought in by the Chargers after being kind of a castaway from the Houston Oilers back in the 1970s, and then played from the time he was 24 till the time he was 37 with the Chargers. In that span, made 3 Pro Bowls, was a one-time All-Pro. I feel like I got to shore up the offensive line here, and I got to make sure that I get that interior of my line really set. Doug Wilkerson played with Don Masick there for a little while there. But his best years, obviously, 1980, 1982 during that Don Coryell run. So let me go ahead and pick up Doug Wilkerson and add him to my team.
All right. Okay. I see what you're doing. I like this team. I like your team. Not going to lie. It's coming together. And you keep throwing these curveballs at me and taking the guys that I'm looking at. So let's go. I'm also worried about my offensive line. And
I feel like you've been pushing it off, so I feel like you need to like start shoring it up.
All right. Well, I like Doug Wilkerson, but I'm going to go left guard. Who I think you can make a good argument is the best interior lineman in Charger history, and yep, you know who I'm looking at. It's Chris Dielman, an absolute beast, an anchor up there, paving the way for those record-breaking LT years. A really, one of those really unlikely success stories. An undrafted free agent out of Indiana, played tight end and D-line in college, and wasn't until he got to the NFL that they switched him to offensive guard, and I'm glad they did, because now he's one of the all-time greats at the position. 4 consecutive Pro Bowls from 2007 to 2010, which were glory days of Charger football. He was just an endearing guy. He's one of those guys you kind of have to be rooting for. Spent his entire career with the Chargers, so he's a lifer, and really good at what he does, and that's just moving guys out of the way, letting his running backs do the work.
So I'm going to stay on the offensive line. I think you messed up, you're right. Chris Dielman for sure was phenomenal. You look at all of the work that LaDainian Tomlinson did going to the left side there on that interior part. But Walt Sweeney, I think, is the better offensive tackle historically. So Walt Sweeney is in the Chargers Ring of Fame, Hall of Fame, 9-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 1-time AFL champ. One of those guys that was a running mate with the offensive tackle that you took. What's his name?
Ron Mix.
So one of those guys that really helped shore that up for them. But if you look at the 1964 season all the way to 1972, I mean, it's filled with Pro Bowls and All-Pros. So this guy was a dominant force, taking nothing away from Chris Dielman, because Chris Dielman was a phenomenal offensive tackle. But if you're looking for like the accolades that Walt Sweeney had, I mean, he did everything. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take Chris Dielman, but I just got the best interior guys of our entire history, in my opinion. So my interior of that offensive line with Walt Sweeney, Don Masick, and Doug Wilkerson, that's going to be tough to beat.
Well, all right, then I'm going to just double up. I'm going to take 2 right tackles, because I think the tackle class, I'm a double. Yep, that's my guy. I'm going to go 2 right tackles. I think either one can be plugged in on the left side.
Putting him at left tackle?
I'll put Ron Mix at left tackle. But yeah, I'm taking Russ Washington. He was a guy that drafted number 4 overall. You got high expectations. Played many seasons from 1968 to 1982. Big, 6'6", 289 pounds. They used to call him Mount Washington. 5 Pro Bowl selections, and went 13 seasons in the NFL before even missing a single game. This guy is just consistent. He's always out there. 4th in the history of the franchise in service time, 200 games played over 15-year career. Charger Hall of Fame, inducted into that class in 1995. And now apparently, so I'm going to shore up my tackles. I think those are the best tackles that we've had in the history of our franchise. Your interior line is very, very nice. So I got to go and grab the other guys out there on the outside and give Dan Fouts some time to throw the football.
All right. So if I've got LaDainian Tomlinson and I've got this shored up interior offensive line, who's better to get than go and get Lorenzo Neal? I'm really stoked that I went and got this pairing because, man, I'm really going to be a run-first offense. I don't know who my quarterback is yet. I got Charlie Joyner and Lance Allworth. I really went heavy on the offense. That wasn't by design. It just sort of happened. Lorenzo Neal paved enormous rushing lanes for LaDainian Tomlinson. And also, you got other guys that got the benefit from that as well. I'm talking about Darren Sproles and Michael Turner. But, I mean, as a fullback, like, Lorenzo Neal, like, just looked scary. He had the nasty neck roll, Neal. And he ended up playing almost till he was 40. He was drafted in 1993 and retired in 2008. Think about, like, how long that just seems, right? Retired at 38 years old. The Chargers brought him in when he was already 33 years old, and those glory years with LaDainian Tomlinson really started. So he was Tomlinson's second fullback, and he was the guy who helped present LaDainian Tomlinson into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One of his, like, the best guys you'll ever meet off the field. He's got his own podcast if you ever get a chance to go listen to it. 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowl. This is 2-time All-Pro first team, but he also has a second team in there as well. One of those guys that just paved massive rushing lanes. So I'll let you go ahead and pick. I think we're almost got a starting offense and defense progressing our way through.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back. I think a guy we missed. I don't think he's on the level of Jamal Williams. I just didn't get a chance to see him play. But I'm talking about Gary Johnson at D tackle from 1975, 1984. They called him Big Hands. He was a huge guy. Well, he's 6'2", 257 pounds, but he played much bigger. Was a D tackle who was beating you with speed off the line. Wasn't the strongest guy, wasn't the most skilled, but he was fast. And in an era where defensive tackles were giant human beings, he was definitely an anomaly. First team All-Pro 2 times in his career, 4-time Pro Bowl selection. He played before sacks were a statistic. Really only played 2 years. Sacks became a statistic in 82. He stopped playing for the Chargers in 84. But he still has ranked 3rd in the history of the franchise with 67 sacks. And that includes a 17.5 sack season in 1980. He'd be much higher on that list if we were counting those for the majority of his career. But 10 years with the Chargers down in San Diego in the 70s and 80s. He's an absolute beast. So I think he's going to be a nightmare in the center of my defense.
I'm going to go back to the defense. I feel like I need to shore up my defense a little bit here because I've been kind of not addressing it quite as much. But another like player who was just so great for the Chargers over a span there. I'm talking about Donnie Edwards, who started his career off with the Chiefs. A guy who I always remember him like his salute to service, right? Like his salute to service type thing. So let me go ahead and pull up Donnie Edwards. He's got a couple Pro Bowls in there. Another player who played a long career, 12 till he was 35 years old. So started his first career off as kind of an enemy of the Chargers, and then spent 2002 to 2006 with the Chargers. Ended up playing 180 games, playing almost 200. Was a guy that was just a mauler against the run. I mean, he's got over 1,500 combined tackles. Think about that for a second. Made an one-time Pro Bowl. He was second team All-Pro. He was also had votes for Defensive Player of the Year in 2004 when he was with the Chargers as well. Made All-Pro second team that season. In that season, he had 152 combined tackles. The season before, 162. Season after, 154. I mean, this guy just racked up tackles as one of those like core linebackers, those nasty guys who did a lot of the dirty work. I mean, Donnie Edwards was a lot of fun to watch play.
Man, this is getting tougher and tougher now that we're getting into the weeds of things. Man, where am I gonna go now? Well, I gotta go down the list. We're talking all-time greats. All right. That's how I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna just go instead of just it doesn't matter. I'm not going to explain my strategy. It doesn't make sense. I've been changing it every other pick. But I'm going to take another guy that I really enjoyed watching growing up and played the center position. Was a captain for us for many, many years. And I'm talking about Nick Hardwick, another Charger lifer, played his entire career in San Diego, 5-time team captain, Pro Bowl selection in 2006, and a 4-time alternate, which is an absolute snub. The guy was the best at his position when he was playing. 136 games started for the Chargers. He played in all 16 games 5 times during his career. Another consistent guy, another guy who now was paired up with Dielman for many, many years during those very successful Charger seasons. And so got to pay homage to my guy, Nick Hardwick, and add him to my all-time team.
All right, I'm going to go and pick up Joey Bosa because I feel like I need some edge help. And I let you go and pick up the best of the best. But I feel like Bosa has yet to really – I feel like Bosa has yet to really hit his stride, right? Like he's never had more than like 10 to 12 sacks in a season. And I think he's one of those players that's capable of breaking the record any given year if he can stay healthy. I think that's been one of the things that have drawn him back a little bit, just staying healthy, not only physically but mentally, right? But one of those guys that like is just an absolute monster, and I'm really, really expecting some big things from him. I'm not going to talk too much because I feel like we should probably move this along a little bit more. Yeah. But Joey Bosa is definitely going to be in his career as probably the greatest Chargers pass rusher of all time.
And that's why just and we can speed this up, but I did want to just hit on that point. That's why I passed him up over for Sean Phillips. I think at this point, Sean Phillips is marginally better, but I think give Bosa 2-3 more seasons doing what he's doing, especially pairing him up with a guy like Khalil Mack, who he's never really no knock against Melvin Ingram, but not the same caliber of player. I think give Bosa a couple more seasons, he'll be right in there with the best pass rushers for the Chargers. But staying on the defensive end, a guy that you don't really have on your to draft list that we have mocked up, but I'm going linebacker, a guy that I don't think a whole lot of Charger fans talk a whole lot about, and that's Woodrow Lowe. Woodrow Lowe, 5th round selection out of Alabama back in '76, and thoroughly surpassed many of those guys selected ahead of him. 21 career interceptions, took 4 of those back for touchdowns. Another guy who was a threat to score the football once he got it in his hands. In his 11 seasons, he missed just 1 game. 10th in franchise history with 164 games played. He's another team captain, and a guy who is just consistent. 150. Oh, no, that's 150 receiving yards. Can't find his tackle numbers, but right outside linebacker, played the pass very well. The threat to pick that ball off and take it home. One of the best defending, one of the best linebackers to defend the pass. I think that has come through the franchise. So I'm going Woodrow Lowe to help solidify my linebacking core.
All right, I'm gonna help solidify my secondary. I don't know if I'm playing man or if I'm playing zone, but Casey Hayward did so much for the Chargers over the span of like 6 seasons with the Chargers, 2017 to 2021, 2-time Pro Bowler, 2nd team All-Pros twice, Defensive Rookie of the Year votes. I don't know why Green Bay didn't use them more or re-sign him. Also had a really good comeback season last year for the Raiders. I still think there's a lot left in the tank. I know that he did deal with some injuries in his last season with the Chargers. Probably just did not play at that same level. 2016, he had 7 interceptions, which was just phenomenal by him. And just one of those guys that you just like on and off the field. I really wish Casey Hayward would have stayed a little bit longer. I understand he's not quite a scheme fit, a player that really plays better as a cover 3 corner, but he's been very twitchy. And I honestly think he could have played much better in man if we would have gave him the opportunity to. So let me go ahead and add Casey Hayward Jr. to my roster.
All right. Okay. I'm going to round out my receiving core. And I'm going to go
got a couple here to pick from that are pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah. In this one, I'm really just adding. I'm going to add this guy because I think he adds another skill set that my core doesn't have right now. So I got the route runner in Keenan Allen. I got the physical possession deep ball receiver in Vincent Jackson. So I'm going to add some speed to my core in the way of Anthony Miller. That's going to be my speedy deep threat on the other side of Vincent Jackson. I'm going to let Keenan operate in the slot where he dominates. And Miller's a fun pick, first round selection in 1988. Led San Diego in receiving yards 5 times out of his first 6 seasons. 4 Pro Bowl selections during his time. 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He's 7th in franchise history with 5,582 receiving yards on his career. He also tied for 7th with 37 touchdown catches. Also tied with Vincent Jackson in that regard. And 374 career receptions is 9th on that all-time Chargers list. So I'm going Anthony Miller, and I think I really like my pass catchers that I got.
And, I think Anthony Miller was also a super dynamic threat as a kick returner, punt returner. Like he had some really phenomenal seasons.
He's fast
on special teams. Yeah. Always been a really, really fast, scary player with the ball in his hands. I think I'm going to go up and kind of finish my offensive line here. I think this is a good time to go and take Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater, only 1 year under his belt, already an All-Pro, and hit this really. Could you imagine his trajectory as it stands right now? This guy is gonna be just a dominant player at his position for a long time. Already voted as the 5th best offensive tackle in the NFL right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw that parade, and I'm gonna take Rashawn Slater right here. I can't wait to see how many All-Pro, Pro Bowl teams he's going to make throughout his career. I mean, this guy is one of my favorite players already of all time, and I've only been with him for 1 season.
He's fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited. the parade's happening, Tyler. Let's just keep talking about it. We're going to keep mentioning it, and eventually we're going to manifest it because I need that parade. Rashawn Slater's a beast. I'm going to go keeping with the nicknames. I like my Chargers to have nicknames, and I'm going to go Leslie Duncan for my slot cornerback, a very quick guy, which I think you could figure out a lot about this guy's play and his from his nickname. They used to call him Speedy. The guy could fly. He's a playmaking corner who was also phenomenal on special teams. He's an absolute. I've been getting a lot of defensive guys who are a threat to take the ball and score. Duncan had 21 career interceptions over the 77 career games with the Bolts. 8 touchdowns this guy scored, 4 on punt returns, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble return, 1 blocked field goal return. This guy was a Swiss Army knife at the cornerback position, can score, impact special teams, can impact the defense. And so I'm going to put him on, slot him in as my slot corner.
I'm going to go and pick up another linebacker. I'm going to go and pick up Randall Godfrey. Randall, I really, really like that 2006 to 2010 era of Chargers football. And, I think that he was always paired best with Donnie Edwards. So I'm just going to make that happen once again. 1996 to 2007, 17 sacks, 661 solo tackles. Played 170 career games, was only with the Chargers for 3 seasons, so it definitely wasn't an all-time Charger, but definitely one of the better Chargers while he was with us, kind of toward the back half of his career. Didn't get a whole lot of turnovers, caused a couple fumbles here and there, 19 forced and fumbles, 2 to 3 a season is kind of what he averaged. He has 1 season as an all-pro, second-team all-pro. That was with Tennessee in 2000. A player you wish that would have been more of a long-term Charger, but definitely one of the better linebackers that the Chargers have had over their career. So let me go ahead and pick up Randall Godfrey.
Okay. I still have no running back. And this one's tough because it's very obvious, I think, at the top of the top of that list. But looking after LT and the running back position, Natrone Means is an absolute beast, but I'm going to take Darren Sproles just because of his versatility. I don't want to be pinned into one thing, and right now my team is kind of set up to pass the ball. Since I have Don Coryell, I don't think makes much sense to get a bruising running back like Natrone Means. So I'm going to go Darren Sproles just because of his ability. He's just so dynamic, right? Can run the football if needed. Just a small body that gets lost behind this big offensive line that I've created. Can definitely impact the game from a catching the ball out of the backfield, but also an elite, I think the best punt returner, kick returner the Chargers have ever had. Pound for pound, I mean, is there many other players at 5'6" that can do what Sproles was able to do? Just a big threat from the running game to the receiving game to returning kicks. He did it all. 17 touchdowns over his career. And that was just offensively. He had 4 special teams returns for touchdowns as well. I'm going with I'm going with Darren Sproles. Sorry, I can't talk this morning.
No, you're good. Darren Sproles has been a phenomenal, small, undersized guy. Did you hear how they were talking about him at the combine, right? When he was coming out of college, just being too small. I mean, 5'6", 190 pounds. Also became one of the greatest kick returner, punt returners of all time. I love Darren Sproles, his story, everything about him.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and finish my linebacking core. I'm going to go and pick up Billy Ray Smith. Billy Ray Smith is one of those old-time Charger greats that often people forget. Billy Ray Smith. I think might be a little bit hard to find the right one. Okay, so Billy Ray Smith, linebacker, 6'3", 235 pounds. played from the time he was in 1983 all the way to 1992, all with the San Diego Chargers. Doesn't really have all of the accolades behind him, but he did finish 8th in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. Can't seem to find his tackles either for whatever reason, but one of those players that played a long time for the Chargers, 126 games, and that means that my linebacking room is all put together. Billy Ray Smith. There he is.
All right. Where am I going?
So let's take a look at what you have remaining that you need to go and put together. You need a safety. You need a linebacker. At least another defensive tackle.
Yeah.
A guard, and a fullback.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the players that are remaining.
Let's go see. I think I'm going to go address that linebacker position. A guy you don't have on your we don't have on the list either. But there's so many good guys to choose from, but I'm going to go linebacker, give Junior Seau another reliable tackler so he doesn't have to tackle 200 times in a season. But I'm going to get as my strong side linebacker, grab Gary Plummer. I think he's a guy who's another very intense player, a guy who you're not stopping because he has just more determination than you. Got 792 tackles in his career, over 119 games during 8 years in San Diego. 5 interceptions as a Charger, really not his forte, but he was a tough tackler. You were going to be hard-pressed to get around him, and then left the Chargers in 93 to go join the 49ers, who beat us down in the Super Bowl the year of my birth in 94. But got to get Plummer. I like pairing him with Seau and the other back that I got here. So I'm going to grab Plummer.
I feel like I want to go cornerback here. I really don't know where. It's really hard to pick, but I think that I'm going to go with Dwayne Harper. Dwayne Harper played, he's played kind of like in that 90s era, if I remember. Dwayne Harper. 80s to 88 to 90s, so kind of late 80s into the 90s. Kind of a short stint with the Chargers, played from 1994 to 1998 with the Chargers specifically. Had a good number of interceptions over that span. He started his first career with 3. First season with the Chargers, 3. 1995, he had 4. 96, 1. 97, 2. 98, 1. One of those guys that just was kind of quiet. Was drafted in the 11th round by the Seattle Seahawks. Kind of a smaller player that I think is going to fit that role pretty nice, 5'11", 175 pounds. So I'll go and put Dwayne Harper into my slot.
Okay. I think this guy is probably someone who's a little lower on the all-time Chargers list just because of the amount of games he played. He only played 5 seasons with us, but still was honored in 2009 as one of the 50 greatest Chargers in the history of the club. He's not on your list either, Tyler, but I'm going to add the mountain of a human, 6'9", 290 pounds, D tackle, Ernie Ladd, who played for us from 61 to 65 and was an impact as soon as he got to the Chargers. 4-time AFL All-Star selection during those seasons. It was before the NFL. Probably another reason why he's so low on the list. But never missed a game during his 5 years with the Chargers. A Charger Hall of Famer for sure, and just a monster human being that I think will be able to eat up a lot of real estate in the middle of my defense.
You said that's Ernie. I don't know who this is.
Ernie Ladd, Ladd. He only played 5 seasons. Well, and he played in the AFL. But I think just his size. I want the size. I don't really have many stats on the guy. I just saw 6'9" D tackle. Voted to our top 50 greatest Chargers of all time. So I don't know a whole lot about him either. Just that he's a massive human being, and that he was a run stuffing D tackle up front in the 60s.
So I'm going to finish my offensive line. I'm going to take offensive tackle Marcus McNeil. I'm going to move him over to the right tackle side because I feel like Shane Olivier is the only other player I'm kind of thinking about putting there. But Marcus McNeil had a few seasons of just being absolutely dominant. I think that's a good player to round out my offensive line overall. I'm very, very happy with how that all turned out. You've got a safety left, you've got a right guard left, and a fullback left.
I'm going to go that safety. I'm going to address this position first. This was a guy who, when he left in 2020, it hurt. But he understood because of the money that he was due, because he was an absolute beast for us. And I'm talking about Adrian Phillips, the versatile hybrid safety. We're going to have him slotted at strong safety, but he can play that money position, that hybrid linebacker safety position, and he does it really well. He's a physical tackler up front when he's up the line in scrimmage, but he can break up some passes. He broke up 9 passes last season. He also broke up 9 passes in 2018 when he was voted to an all-pro team for his special teams ability. So a guy who can impact the game in many different phases. A guy who's and he's in the prime of his career, right? He's 29 now, going to be 30 by the time the season rolls around. But just a consistent, reliable threat back there at the safety position, and pairing him with Eric Weddle, I think is a nice pairing. I don't think they played. They never played together. I think they played in the league. Let's see.
I don't think that they did play together.
No, Adrian Phillips entered the league in 2014, but I was curious if Weddle was still in Baltimore at that time. Yeah. Either way,
I'm not exactly sure either. They did play
together. No, they played 2 seasons together. 2014 was Eric Weddle's last All-Pro season with the Chargers.
And I think Adrian Phillips was still on the practice squad and hadn't really come up yet.
You know what? You're right.
So I don't think they ever were
roster,
on the same field. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Adrian Phillips appeared in 3 games, had 1 tackle in 2014.
All right, so I have a wide receiver here. I have a slot wide receiver position open, and I'm really struggling to make a decision. On one hand, I think Wes Chandler has been one of the Chargers' all-time greats just in terms of his longevity with the Bolts. But then I think of another player that often gets forgotten, that he was a Charger, maybe not a Charger great, but he was definitely a Patriot great, and he was definitely a slot great. And I'm definitely talking about Wes Welker. So Wes Welker was actually a Charger on the Chargers practice squad before he ended up having that amazing all-pro season, helping Tom Brady break records. Like I said, I know he's not a Charger great, but he's Wes Welker, right? Small, undersized, white dude who's somehow running routes and getting open and making people look silly. So I'm going to go out of the ordinary here and pick an NFL great, in my opinion. I think Wes Welker has a great story coming undrafted and then really becoming like a dominant, like Hunter Renfrow type of player.
Interesting. All right. If I'm going to go fullback, well, then I'm going to do – okay. All right. I'm going to grab my fullback who played fullback for us, but actually became, a really great running back after he left during his years in Carolina. I'm talking about Mike Tolbert, another undersized back in terms of height. He's only 5'9", but 243 pounds. The guy was a thumper. really built in the mold of a fullback. Played for the Chargers from 2008 to 2011, but they gave him the football plenty. He had 11 touchdowns in 2010, 8 touchdowns in 2011, his final season with the Chargers. So he could run the football as well as block. And then he went on to Carolina, where he was voted to 3 Pro Bowls. He had 2 All-Pro seasons. And so maybe a little undersized, but very, very dynamic with my running back room, with Mike Tolbert leading the way for the train that cannot be stopped in Darren Sproles.
All right, so I think I need to go defensive tackle here. And I think I'm going to go with Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo, another player during that 2005 to 2010 era, a player who had some dominant seasons playing as that DN3 in the 3-4 defense. I think I'm going to pick Luis Castillo here. I'll let you go ahead and pick. I think you've got a nose tackle.
I got my nose. I'm gonna put Ladd as my nose tackle.
Okay.
And you got Luis Castillo. Man, okay.
Do you have an extra pick for me? Because I got a quarterback still. Okay, so my last player is a quarterback. So you got one more player. Wait, hold on one second.
Yeah, you gave me. No, we have. You need a D tackle too. You need a second D tackle and a quarterback, and I need a second D tackle and a right guard.
So you got Matt Filer, Mike Goff available to be your guards, and then at defensive tackle you got Corey Lugiet. You've got Igor Olshansky, Jaquez Caesar, Brandon Mebane, and Kendall Reyes.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a little off the grid too. And I'm gonna go guard. But I'm gonna go and grab a guy who is probably not viewed as a all-time Charger great, because he didn't come to the Chargers until his 10th season in the NFL. Spent his first 9 years in Minnesota, where he's very successful, carved out a role for himself as one of the best guards in the league, but came over at 31 years of age to the Chargers in 1978, and was an immediate impact once he got there. He missed just 2 games during 8 seasons with the team. And though it was at the end of his career, he still was a Pro Bowler in 1979, was a 5-time team captain, was a guy who was an absolute brute. At the one time when they were doing it, they must, in the 70s, they used to have an NFL arm wrestling competition, and he was at one point the NFL arm wrestling champion. So a very, very strong guy. Going to get him to shore up my offensive line.
Who is that?
That is Ed White.
Ed White. Ed White. I did not know that he played for Minnesota. That's interesting.
Well, he played a long time, and he played until he was 40 years old. 9 seasons with Minnesota, and then 8 seasons with the Chargers. Very durable guy.
All right. So I really don't like the defensive tackles available here. I think I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path here. I think I'm going to take Rayleigh Johnson. Rayleigh Johnson played primarily edge for the Chargers, but I feel like at 272 pounds, I feel like he can move over and still give me that pass rush ability there. I added him to your team, so I'm going to take that away. I had him back to my team.
I'll take him.
Rayleigh Johnson spent, I want to say, like 10 to 12 years with the Chargers, 1993 to 2003, and then spent his 1 year with the Denver Broncos. He's a 4th-round draft pick from Arkansas. Like I said, 6'3", 272 pounds, 47 total sacks over his career, and 11 forced fumbles. So you've got one more position, Zach, and that's that final defensive tackle position. And the players that you have available, you got a couple edge rushers. I mean, at this point, I'd put Fred Dean or Khalil Mack in that spot. Maybe even Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram played some defensive tackle, right? He lined up over the guard.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I think you gave me a good. Let me pull up my notes on the guy.
Fred Dean is one of the all-time greats. I mean, you can't write off.
I gotta
Fred
go.
Dean.
No. Well, and you made that picky for me. Hall of Famer. A guy who's versatile. I'm going after the quarterback. I got 2 D tackles in there, and I'm going to go with a pass rush rotation. I'm going to add Fred Dean in there because I think that makes my defense lethal, more lethal than adding a Corey Legit or an Igor Ashansky, or not Igor Ashansky, or a Jock Cesar. So I'm taking my guy Fred Dean, 1975 to 1981. Second round selection out of Louisiana Tech, and just a terror to quarterbacks had to face him. In 1978, had a 15.5 sack season. Followed that up with 9 sacks in 79 and 10.5 in 1980. Pro Bowler during that time span, and helped take the Chargers to back-to-back AFC West championships. They traded him away in 81, but a guy who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008, mostly due to his outstanding Charger career. So I'm going to add him as my D tackle, my second D tackle, and I think I got a really good pass rushing core.
Yeah, I did let Fred Dean go. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I mean, Fred Dean is a great both in a Chargers uniform and in a 49ers uniform. And now my final pick, and I've been pushing this off to the very last pick on purpose because I didn't know who I was going to pick, but I feel like career-wise, I don't know how you pass out on Drew Brees. Drew Brees has so many records. And while I love Phillip Rivers and I think Justin Herbert is going to be right there with the all-time greats, nobody did it better than Drew Brees. And at least Drew Brees brought a Super Bowl home, where Phillip Rivers never did that. And we're still waiting for Justin Herbert to bring that to us as well. So Drew Brees is going to be my final pick. I don't know how we let Fred Dean get to the second to last pick.
That's bad. Well, yeah.
It's just one of those names that I just kept passing over, and I should have never let it pass me over. So I'll go ahead and I'll post this on our social media, my team versus your team, and let's take a look and see what people think. Who had the better draft? Who has the better team? And then let's do this. Loser buys the other guy drinks at the Denver Broncos game this season.
You're gonna make it like a poll?
Yeah, I'll make it a poll.
All right.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of a fun thing to do, right?
Sure. All right, let's do it.
All right, so we'll do that. You guys can make Zach buy me beer all game long at the Denver Broncos game when you guys vote my team the best.
I do like your team. I do like your team. I want to.
Let's take a look at this. All right. So Tyler's team, starting quarterback Drew Brees, Lorenzo Neal, and LaDainian Tomlinson make up the rushing game. Wide receivers Charlie Joyner, Wes Welker, Lance Allworth, and then your offensive line: Rashawn Slater, Walt Sweeney, Don Masick, Doug Wilkerson, Marcus McNeil, and then you got Kellen Winslow at tight end. Zach's offense includes Dan Fouts, Mike Tolbert, Darren Sproles make up the rushing game. You got Vincent Jackson, Keenan Allen, and Anthony Miller at wide receiver. Your offensive line, Ron Mix, Chris Dielman, Nick Hardwick, Ed White, and Russ Washington, with Antonio Gates as your Hall of Fame tight end. Going over to his defensive line is made up with edge rushers Leslie O'Neal, Sean Phillips. Defensive tackle, you got Gary Johnson and Fred Dean, with nose tackle Ernie Ladd. His linebackers Woodrow Wutlow, Junior Seau, and Gary Plummer. Safeties Eric Weddle, Adrian Phillips, And then your secondary, Gil Bird, Speedy Duncan, and Quentin Jammer. My defense is made up of Sean Merriman and Joey Bosa off the edge. Rayleigh Johnson, Luis Castillo are playing my defensive ends in my 3-4 defense with Jamal Williams, big boy, in the middle. Randall Godfrey, Donnie Edwards, and Billy Ray Smith are my linebackers. Safeties, Rodney Harrison and Derwin James. And then my corners, Antonio Cromartie, Dwayne Harper, and Casey Hayward Jr. We don't have kickers and punters. I don't think that they're going to win us this game anyway, so it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and get those votes in, and I'll put that up. I'll make it a whole 24-hour thing, and we'll see how that turns out.
Sweet.
All right, thanks, Zach. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and just a little sign off. This came.
Oh, the Shock Therapy magazine. You did get it finally.
Yeah, it did. It came yesterday. Super stoked. If you haven't already gotten your copy, Tyler, why don't you tell our listeners how to get a hold of one of these things? Because it is.
Well, I've only got about 20 left, so I've gotten rid of quite a bit. So I had 125 printed, and they're basically all gone. I'll be taking
100 copies.
125 copies. Oh yeah, so I've sold about 100, and I've given away a large handful to other people as well. Gave a bunch away at the Die Hard Bolt Club event, and then I've randomly just been handing them people here and there. So, but yeah, so that's there. We'll be talking about all 22 on the next episode. We have got some sort of partnership with them, which is really, really exciting because I'm a big advocate for them. I think that they are the next best thing in fantasy sports. We will be talking about that. I just feel like this episode ran much longer than either of us were expecting.
Yeah, twice as long, but it is what it is. It goes by fast when you're having fun, and just a lot to get through. So, but I thought it was a fun episode. I definitely think your team's a little better than mine.
We'll see here pretty soon. You'll get to buy me some beer here at the Denver Broncos game coming up this season.
Like that. I might vote against myself.
All right. Thanks a lot, you guys. Over and out.